On the agenda tonight, we're going back to 1977. We're going to be taking a look at Billy Joel, and he's going to be performing The Stranger. Hello, Phil here from Wings of Pegasus, and welcome to another analysis video. If you enjoy this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. So let's get Billy up on screen and see how he gets on.
We all have a face that we hide away forever, and we take them out and show ourselves when everyone has gone. Some are satin, some are steel, some are silk and some are leather. They're the faces of a stranger, but we love to try them on. Well, we all fall in love, but we disregard the danger. Though we share so many secrets, there are some we never tell. Why were you so surprised that you never saw the stranger? Did you ever let your lover see the stranger in yourself? Don't be afraid to try again. Everyone goes south every now and then. Ooh, you've done it, why can't someone else? You should know by now, you've been there yourself. Once I used to believe I was such a great romancer, and I came home to a woman that I could not recognize. When I pressed her for a reason, she refused to even answer. It was then I felt the stranger kick me right between the eyes.
I'm just going to jump in here. As always, the link to this video is going to be in the description below, so you guys can watch it in full without me interrupting it. This live performance is so good for so many different reasons, and a lot of those will fly under the radar. The first thing with the intro, the way that we start up with Billy playing the piano and totally unaccompanied to begin with from the rest of the band, but then you can hear the bass come in, and if you do have a sub, turn that up to 11 because you can hear the bass line going on as well, and the control from the rest of the band, because there's no click track in the intro. There's no way of counting it out and being exactly in time. It's all about the feel and the way that the band are following the feel of what Billy's playing. And it's something that you won't necessarily appreciate until you rewind it, have a listen to it again, of how tight that beginning of the song is, the whole intro, considering that they're all just feeling their way through it. And you can tell when a performer is playing with a band and They're confident in each other's abilities because they just allow each other to go with the feel. Imagine if the bass or the drums came in slightly ahead of where they should be and they're pushing the tempo, and then Billy's got to try and catch up with the piano and totally lose the feel of the intro. Fortunately, that doesn't happen with Billy being the expert and master songwriter that he is. That intro is like the opening monologue for the song. And when I say that, what I mean is it's like a long sentence, and it isn't one sentence that's being repeated constantly. And when we're talking about things musically, whenever you hear 3 or 4 chords of a song and they are repeated over and over again, that is like a sentence being repeated to you. Whereas if you don't repeat the same 3 or 4 chords over and over again, the sentence continues. We haven't yet had a full stop at the end of that sentence, and that's exactly what this intro does. So just to give you guys a demonstration of what I mean in this intro and the long sentence that we get, because we start with our E minor. I won't go through all of the chords, but it's E minor, and that's a D down to a C with the open chord voicing up at the top, open E string and B string, down to the B, the C again, E major this time, run up, into the A minor, run down, into a D, and a D sharp diminished at the end, before going back to an E minor. So you can see how we have this progression that you cannot predict, because it's not just going to be the same 3 or 4 chords the whole time, which means that you are going to be listening to it so much more intently when you don't know where you're going. Sometimes when you already know the progression, you can start to switch off a little bit because your brain's already got the idea and you already know the journey before you've gone on it. And this is the great thing about Billy's writing in general, but with this particular song and the intro, how that sentence just keeps on going. Also, while we are talking about the intro, let's talk about Billy's whistling, because he is a master whistler, having such accuracy pitch-wise, but also applying the stylization of vibrato as you would do vocally. And the thing is about a whistle, it is such a pure tone. There is nowhere to hide. When you are hitting these notes, if you're ever so slightly off, it's going to sound really bad. So the way that Billy whistles this, it's got that human element to it that initially he was in the studio wanting to have a wind instrument that would play what he was whistling to Phil Ramone at the time. And Phil said, he was the producer, said to Billy that you should just whistle it because it sounds good. And that's exactly what they did. And I think that if they got an instrument to play this intro, you would lose that human touch. And it has got that vulnerability to it that no other instrument has. And Billy just pulls it off here live so well, so accurately. And it is a studio quality take, but in a live setting. Also, just a quick note on mic technique and when Billy is whistling. Of course, when you blow, when you're whistling, you don't want that air to hit the mic. So that is why he's just whistling off to the side of the mic. Because if I blow into this mic, you can start to hear the distortion, that sound that you get. Obviously, Billy wants the whistle to be heard and not the wind. Another thing we haven't mentioned yet, Billy's piano playing and singing at the same time. But with Billy, he's at the point where he can take a solo section if he wants to on the piano because he's got that level of technical ability. And this is the thing about artists in general, sometimes only become proficient enough at their instrument to accompany themselves, but that is the level they get to, and that's the level they peak at and never really get past that. Whereas Billy is one of these rare artists, and I mean really rare artists, who not only have the top technical ability at their instrument, but have such a unique vocal expression, also vocal technique, which we will get into, and having this songwriting ability just on top of all of that. I always say it's the hardest thing to do, is to write songs that people like and can connect with, and Billy Joel is just a master songwriter as well. So, getting into his vocal technique and his vocal ability, because in this performance, we start quite low down in the verse. We've got a lot of attitude in the vocal, and we are around E3. If you're trying to find it on your guitars, it's the 2nd fret of your D string. But to give you a reference point as to the range pitch-wise that we cover in this song, or Billy does, it does go all the way up to an A4, and that's when we have this break off into the chord progression that you could call the chorus. It is when he gets into his head voice, hits those pure tones up at the top of his range, and it is such a light and shade in this song. Like I said, it's a journey. We've got that intro, which is so set apart from the rest of the song. Then we've got the attitude of the verse, and then we've got this head voice chorus sound with a descending chord progression, the G to G minor, and then we go to a D over an F sharp, and there's an A and another straight D thrown in there. But it's such a great chord progression underneath that clarity that we get from Billy's head voice. So I always say that a lot of the most popular compositions, the ones that connect with a lot of people and sell a lot of copies, are those where the vocalist is spanning at least an octave with their voice, because then we can go on a journey pitch-wise with their vocal throughout the song. And if you don't have your guitar or your keyboard in front of you, I'll count through the notes, not even including the sharps, that we go through with Billy's range in this song. We start on that E3, F3, G3, A3, B3, C4, D4, E4, F4, G4, A4. So that is the top note. There's a lot of notes that I was calling out there. It's a very long journey to get to that final pitch that Billy achieves with his vocal. But because he's got such a relaxed way of singing and hits those head voice tones so cleanly, it doesn't sound like it's strained or that he's pushing to reach these notes. So the delivery, the consistency is so impressive, but also just that range that he's covering, because it will fly under the radar because of the nature of the delivery. But let's get back into the performance.
Fall in love, but we disregard the danger. Though we share so many secrets, there are some we never tell. Why were you so surprised that you never saw the stranger? Did you ever let your lover see the stranger in yourself? Don't be afraid to try again. Everyone goes soft every now and then. Ooh, you've done it, why can't someone else? You should know by now, you've been there yourself. You may never understand how the stranger is inspired, but he isn't always evil, and he is not always wrong. Though you drown in good intentions, you will never quench the fire. You'll give in to your desire when the stranger comes along.
And there we have it. the flow from one section into the next that are effectively totally unrelated in feel with the groove that's going on. You couldn't get more different than the outro and what we've just been leaving, but it is so smoothly done. The band are all over it here, and the bass dynamically is exactly where you want it to be. And also Billy just instantly loads up that whistle and it's right on key. This is one of those videos that could go on for years, because looking at a guy like Billy, he's got such a wide skill set, and he plays the guitar as well, not just limited to the piano, multi-instrumentalist, great vocal ability, and the range that he's got with his head voice, his chest voice, and the songwriting. And this is something that I want to put under the spotlight for this composition, is the journey that we go on and how clearly Billy has set this out, because the intro and the outro are exactly the same with the whistling, and those are the bookends of the composition, so that it means that we're visiting exactly the same place at the end of the song from where we started our journey, and you get that reference point and that feeling of coming home and going in a circle. And this is what the great songwriters can do. They take you on such an interesting journey and you end up where you started. And it's got that relevance. It's something that you can't really put into words or explain, but it's a feeling that the song gives you by going full circle. But like I said, this could go on all night. I haven't even mentioned the groove that we've got going in there the whole time as soon as that verse starts up. Also in the intro, the little stylizations that Billy puts into his piano playing, just sliding up that semitone, which just sounds so cool, and it's on the original recording of course as well. Just a great live version of that original record, and just bringing it to the live stage so accurately, but still keeping all of the feel and everything that you want to hear, just perfectly performed. But thank you guys so much for suggesting this video for me to take a look at, and keep those suggestions coming in the comments below. Let me know what you guys think, and if you enjoyed this video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe, and I'll see you guys at the next one. Rock!